I'd like to call this September 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Authority to order. Member Nair and Councilor Pena are excused, and all other members are present this evening via video conference. We will take a quick moment of silence, and then I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As posted on our website and noted on our published Water Utility Authority agenda, this meeting is being held, obviously, video conference. The Water Authority accepted general public comment and comments on the meeting, specific agenda items in written form via email through 4 p.m. today, and these comments will be distributed to all board members. I would like to make a motion to approve the August 18th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Jones, did I see you second that?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. So I have a second. Ms. Carrion, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilor Benson? Commissioner Benson?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Quesada?
Yes,
That passes unanimously.
thank you. We will move on to proclamations and awards. Item 4A is the Safe Water President's Award. I will now turn it over to David Morris.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hold in front of me the award that you just mentioned. And for the record, I'm David Morris, Public Affairs Manager for the Water Authority. It's my pleasure to present to you on behalf of our Plant Operations Division this President's Award from the Partnership for Safe Water for 2021. This recognition is rarely achieved and given to only a handful of utilities nationwide for their success in providing clean water that surpasses regulatory standards. The President's Award recognizes our drinking water treatment plant and its operators for achieving the highest possible level of filtration performance as outlined in stringent criteria established by the Partnership for Safe Water. The partnership, jointly organized by the American Water Works Association and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, is a voluntary self-assessment and optimization program for water treatment plant and distribution system operation. So please join me, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, in congratulating our plant's managers and operators for this noteworthy achievement.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. What a great achievement. And since we all drink that water, we're very happy. So we appreciate that very much. And I'm sure all of our constituents do also. So thank you. We will move on to public comment, but as I stated previously, comment was accepted prior to the meeting by email. So we will move on to item 6, which is announcements and communications. So the next schedule, so our announcement, it would be our next scheduled meeting will be October 20, 2021 at 5 p.m. via video conference. And the next announcement is the Water Authority's customer conversations meetings for 2021 are scheduled for October 13th, 14th, and 16th. The topic will be COVID-related billing assistance programs, and Water Authority customers are invited to participate in these outlying forums. Look for our registration form on your water authority's homepage at abcwua.org, starting in about a week. We hope to get a lot of participation. As you know, these are some really important things that we need to discuss and programs that we need to implement. So if you're watching this meeting tonight, I hope you get involved. And if you're a neighborhood association, we want to ask you to spread the word at your neighborhood association meetings. We'll move on to first reading of legislation, and there's none. So that was the quickest reading ever. And now we will move on to item 8, which is the consent agenda. Everybody's had an opportunity to look over and read the consent agenda. So I would like to move to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Councillor Jones. Ms. Carrion, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Davis, Counselor Davis,
Let me change my connection, ma'am. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Just a second.
we'll go ahead and move on to Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Biscotti,
Yes.
Chair Quesada,
Yes.
Counselor Davis, can I just get a yes
Yes,
or no?
thank you.
Okay, there we go. That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Carrion. Now we will move on to approvals. We will move on to item A, which is R21-16, amendment to the approved capital implementation program of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2022, and the authorization to proceed with the Intel service. I will turn it over to Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As discussed previously, this resolution would basically authorize up to $1 million to design a conveyance system to provide service to Intel for their recently announced expansion. They'll create approximately 700 direct high-paying jobs and about 2,500 indirect jobs associated with the expansion. Service would be up to 3 million gallons a day. Intel returns about 80% of that water. So effectively, they're going to consume 20% of 3 million gallons a day, or about 600,000 gallons. And this water would be untreated water. It'd be from a well that's high in arsenic that Intel actually prefers for their clean water treatment process. We expect that this service could begin as soon as 2022 and perhaps ramp up to the 3 million in 2023. I'd stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Piscotti.
Yeah, thank you. I received, as maybe we all did, a lengthy email from a constituent, Elaine Hebert, and I boiled it down to 3 questions. So I'm just going to read the questions and then ask Mark Sanchez to address the issues. First, will providing 3 million gallons a day of service to Intel cause overpumping of the aquifer in the Northwest service area? Second, will providing service to Intel cause the water system on the west side of the river to be overcommitted? And third, will committing service to Intel cause capacity issues in the sewer system, possibly triggering the need to reconstruct the Bosque reuse plant? I think that we need to ask some of these questions about, that water usage and then what happens to that water afterwards. So I'd like to hear from Mr. Sanchez at this time.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Piscotti, with regard to the first question, will it cause overpumping? The answer is no, simply because the groundwater pump to provide up to 3 million gallons a day will be offset by the ability and capacity to move surface water into that same area. So the drawdown on the aquifer will be insignificant. With regard to your second question, will the water system be overcommitted west of the river? The answer would be no as well, simply because we're going to be bringing online a well that we acquired from during the acquisition of New Mexico Utilities that's never been in service and was never part of the calculations for the west side. So that will not affect service to the west side. With regard to sewer system capacity issues, the Water Authority inherited a long-standing agreement from the city of Albuquerque, who entered into an agreement with Intel to accept their discharge. That level of discharge would be accommodated with this expansion in the existing agreement. And it's assumed and modeled into our wastewater treatment plant capacity. So I hope that addresses your questions.
I appreciate that. And I'm just curious if this doesn't get approved, if they don't get water from the Water Authority, do you think Intel would just stop the project, or would they find water elsewhere?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Piscotti, I think if you look historically, what Intel has been forced to do is acquire water rights from irrigators and farmers to authorize their pumping. So I would assume with an expansion at this level, they would have to do the same. So I think there's clearly an advantage for the Water Authority to provide this service and not force Intel to go into the market and acquire additional water rights.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sanchez, I'm just curious about from a high level, what the process is of Intel returning that water back. Did you say it was 90% or 95% back into the water table? And is that still arsenic water, or yeah, can you tell me the process?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Benson. Basically, they would theoretically consume 3 million gallons a day. And once it goes through their clean water system, their manufacturing process, it is then discharged into our sewer system. So that's where we capture the 80%. And at that point, it's no longer arsenic water or any other contaminants. We have a pre-treatment system that we capture and treat before it goes back into the river. So it offsets the pumping, if you will.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions? Mr. Sanchez, can you tell me how this affects the water right owners?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned to Commissioner Piscotti, this will not affect existing water rights owners because it's not going to force Intel into the water rights market to acquire those water rights. And typically they would pay a premium for those. And in this case, they're not going to be forced to do that.
Okay. And is there any subsidy?
This would be a no net expense like any other service. So no.
Okay. And my last question would be, does anybody else that uses our water have to put it out at 80%? Is this a standard ask that we're asking Intel, or is this kind of above the norm?
This is way above the norm, and it's just the process that Intel uses. And fortunately, we're prepared to capture that and offset it.
Okay. I just thought, 80, to put it back 80% is pretty good. I thought maybe, that would be nice that would be the standard for everybody is all I'm kind of saying moving forward. But,
I mean, I think the standard for the utility as a whole in terms of return back to the river would be about 55%.
okay, so it is above what the standard is. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I don't believe we have any other questions. I'll move for approval.
Mr. Chair, I did have a question. One
Oh,
more
I'm sorry,
question.
Commissioner Benson.
It's okay. I apologize.
Your
Mr.
hand was still
Sanchez?
up.
Yeah. I never took it down. Mr. Sanchez, when Intel was at its largest capacity in terms of production and employment, what was that water usage compared to what this request is?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Benson, I don't recall. Although I would think it was probably at least 1 million gallons a day, 2 million gallons a day. What Intel has done throughout the company is refine the process of manufacturing to use less water. And as time goes on, they plan to continue that innovation to continue consuming less water. But I don't know the exact number, I'm sorry.
No problem. Just curious. I'm happy that Intel's back and bringing jobs back. So just curious. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's okay. That's all right, Commissioner. I appreciate it. I appreciate the question. So I did move for approval of item 9A. Do I have a second? I have a second for Commissioner Benson. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson,
Hi.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Chair Quesada.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move on to item 9B, which is R-21-17, approving and authorizing the New Mexico Environment Department appropriation for the Bosque non-potable water reclamation plant and reuse project. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is kind of the Liz Anderson show tonight. I've got a whole bunch of authorizations for you for capital outlay. So this is the first one. We received an appropriation from the state, and this is approving and authorizing that appropriation for the grant of $410,000 towards the Bosque non-potable water reclamation and plant and reuse project. So I recommend approval and I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No. Okay. Well, then I will move for approval. Do I have a second? Councilor Davis gives me his second. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson,
Hi.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Chair Quesada.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move on to item C, R-21-18, approving and authorizing a New Mexico Environment Department appropriations for the monitoring well construction. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this is a resolution authorizing us to enter into the agreement with the State of New Mexico Environment Department for the amount of $770,000. This is capital outlay for the what we're calling the data gap monitoring well for the Kirtland Air Force Base bulk fuel spill cleanup. And this was fully funded by the state legislature, and the well should be complete around December, probably the end of December, and able to collect some data. So this will be a great way for us to close that gap and have a better understanding of the potential for EDB and its proximity to our groundwater wells. And I recommend approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Commissioner Benson, is that your hand from before or? Yeah, okay, all right. So I make a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Counselor Davis, again, quick with the two fingers, which means a second. I get it. It's not a peace sign. It's the second.
Better than the one finger, Mr.
So,
Chair.
thank you. Ms. Carrion, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson? Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Quesada?
Yes,
That passes unanimously.
thank you. We'll move on to item D, R-21-19, approving and authorizing a New Mexico Environment Department appropriation for the Carnuel Community Water and Wastewater System Upgrade Project. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this is capital outlay for the Carnival wastewater system, $155,000, which should take us probably through design for that phase one of the Carnival wastewater collection system, which is really exciting to get some funding for that project. So so this is the authorizing us to enter into the grant agreement with NMED, and I recommend approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? No. All right, so I'll move for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second. It's
All
in my
right, we
district.
have Commissioner Piscotti with the second hand signal. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson?
Aye.
Counselor Davis? Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Quesada?
Yes,
That passes unanimously.
thank you. Move on to item E, which is R-21-20, approving and authorizing a New Mexico Environment Department appropriation for the Southside Water Reclamation Plant outfall realignment project. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. That project is a mouthful, so good job getting that one out. This is, again, a capital outlay grant agreement with the State of New Mexico Environment Department in the amount of $322,500. This is going to be creating some habitat for the silvery minnow down near the Southside Plant outfall. It's a project we're doing in coordination with the Office of Natural Resources Trustee. And I should have said for all of these, they have no fiscal impact. They're 100% funded. So I recommend approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? No. All right, so I'll move for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Jones. Ms. Carrion, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson?
Aye.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Quesada?
Yes,
Passes unanimously.
thank you. We'll move on to item F, which is R-21-21, authorizing the insurance and sale of Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority Senior Lien Joint Water and Sewer System Improvement Revenue Bonds, Series 2021, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $90 million, to be issued in one or more series for the purpose of acquiring additional system assets and extending, repairing, replacing, and improving the Water Authority's joint water and sewer system. Now that was a mouthful. Eric Harrigan to present. I see you, but I don't hear you.
Apologize, I was on mute. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Chairman and members of the Authority Board, Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. I'll go through a presentation. The presentation that you'll see is similar to the one that was provided at your last month's meeting. We've updated to current rates, but the plan of finance and the resolution that's before you tonight authorizes the issuance of bonds to finance up to 90 million. However, the total amount of projects will be 86 million. 56 million will be general projects, which will be financed over a 12-year period. The estimated borrowing rate in the current market environment is about 1.5%. For the other projects, which include information technology, interceptor rehabilitation projects in the amount of 17 million, and other identified projects will be financed over a 25-year period. The issuance of these bonds do comply with the authority's debt policy. The authority's senior lien bonds are rated AAA by Standard & Poor's, AA by A2 by Moody's, and AA by Fitch. And I will note that for this bond issue, the authority is just using Standard & Poor's like its last financing that the authority did last year when it refunded some of its outstanding debt for interest rate savings. To kind of put this financing into a little bit of context, the authority currently has 521 million of outstanding debt. So the addition of this will bring the total amount of the authority's total outstanding bonds to a little over 600 million. And when you kind of compare that to other utilities, that, the amount of debt that the authority has outstanding is about 2.7 times of your operating revenues. And when you compare AAA and AA rated utilities around the country, that outstanding debt to operating revenues is 4 times or lower. So it's right within those parameters and lower than those parameters that you typically see from AA rated credits or AAA rated credits. I think the other really important thing to note is that the the Water Utility Authority retires its debt very quickly. Over 50% of your debt will be retired within the next 5 years. About 327 million of your debt will be, and a little over 80% of your debt will be retired in the next 10 years, which is well above most utilities. And I think it's important to note that, while a lot of utilities in the Southwest and the West are struggling to deal with supply issues, a lot of the water authority's debt that's currently outstanding has to do with the San Juan diversion project, and all of that debt will be retiring in the next 5 to 7 years. And so the Water Utility Authority has kind of gone through that process of that capital infusion to solve your water supply problem, where there's a lot of utilities in the Southwest and the West that are still facing supply issues. On next slide, please. So we've provided the structure of the 2021 bonds. The bonds are structured to take advantage of the authorities very rapidly declining debt service. The debt service will continue to maintain, the issuance of these bonds will continue to maintain roughly the annual debt service payments that the Water Authority currently has. Next slide, please. On page 3 of the presentation, the dark blue and the light blue show the authority's currently outstanding debt service payments. Again, as I mentioned, you can see how rapidly the Water Authority pays its debt off. And in the gray and the yellow is are the basic needs and the other projects that are being financed with the 2021 issuance. Next slide, please. So from a timing standpoint, subject to the board's approval, we would post a preliminary official statement tomorrow and be in the market to price the bonds on September 30th. And then closing would occur on October 28th, and that's when funds would be available for the authority to expend on the projects. We have a few slides on the market. I'll kind of just, instead of really going into depth here, I'll kind of highlight what's going on. I mean, even though rates have ticked up a little bit since the all-time low last year in August, when you look back historically, rates are still very, very low. They're near their all-time historical lows. We're certainly experiencing, continued effects of the pandemic. There's a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill that's currently working its way through Congress. There's another $3.5 trillion human infrastructure agenda bill that on the horizon. And that doesn't include, all of the stimulus that Congress has approved last year. And so one of the things that's hard to kind of, determine in the current market is that we're seeing a lot of, inflationary numbers. How much of that is, transitory, and what they call transitory inflation, meaning what's being caused, how much of that inflation is being caused because of the supply chain impacts versus how much of it is actually really truly long term. But I think the general consensus is that the expectation is that interest rates will rise in the future based upon what we're seeing. And the Federal Reserve has hinted at their meeting this week that they will start to look to taper their Treasury purchase program later this year, and also look at raising the overnight lending rate in 2022. But I fully expect that the Water Authority will obtain very, very good interest rates and near historical lows. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. Sam Gill with McCall Parkhurst, who is the authority's bond counsel, is also on the line, who can address any questions regarding the resolution.
Thank you very much. Can we go to the full screen? Do we have any questions? I can't. Okay, everybody's starting to pop up now. All right. I guess I have a few, if nobody else does. What projects will be funded out of this bond issue?
So on the presentation at the beginning of the slide there, so 56 million will be spent on general basic needs infrastructure projects. 17 million will be spent on the interceptor rehabilitation projects. 3 million on information technology projects, and then there's 10 million of other identified projects that will be financed with this bond issue.
If the Water Authority did not issue debt, how would it pay for the capital improvements?
Well, if it didn't issue debt, then the Water Authority would have to come up with cash. And currently the Water Authority doesn't generate enough cash to meet all of its capital needs. One of the other important components when you're looking at funding capital projects from with cash is that it's very difficult to put together enough money to do one single project. Whereas with a bond issue, you're able to generate more proceeds for that project. You're able to borrow at rates that are far below the cost that materials are going up. The cost of materials are going up nearly 2 to 3 times the cost of what the authority can borrow in the public markets.
Can you explain the 50% cash requirement with the basic capital program must follow?
So the Water Authority, at a minimum, from its basic needs projects, funds 50% of its basic need through cash and 50% from bond issues. That amount has actually been going up. The Water Authority has been funding more with cash. And so it's a very very strong mix of having both cash and debt, and one of the best capital funding policies across the country.
I just, yeah. And let me ask you this: is the Water Authority unique in being a AAA rated utility?
There are other AAA rated utilities. There are not a lot. I don't know how many AAA rated utilities there are across the country that S&P rates, but it's not common, and a lot of that goes into the policies of the authority. The authority has very, very sound policies, not only financial policies but operational policies. And having a long-term water supply and plan is incredibly important to the rating agencies, because as I kind of mentioned earlier, that supply issue is going to create significant capital costs for other utilities that the Water Authority has already mostly solved that issue.
That's good news. That's great. I think we all like hearing that, so I appreciate that. Commissioner Benson, you have a question. I believe you're on mute.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to take my hand down so that it'll stay up. I had a question about the Mr. Harrigan, the term, the debt term, how the debt's paid off within 5 years. I love to see that. Is that required, or is that just kind of the policy of the Water Authority?
Well, in part it has to, and Chairman and Commissioner Benson, in part it has to do with the authority's policies on the debt is issued in the past. So in 2004, 5, 6, the authority borrowed money for the San Juan Chama project, and that money was financed over a 25-year period. And as that debt is paid off and retired, it's just sort of the natural payoff of those bonds that were issued, 16 years ago, 16, 17 years ago.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just curious, reason I was asking is if rates do start going up and money becomes more expensive, just wondering about cash flow and potential measures for borrowing money in the future. But that'll be for another conversation. I'm sure you guys are already thinking about it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any more questions? No. Okay, so I will move for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Benson. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson?
Aye.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Casella?
Yes,
This is unanimously.
thank you. We'll go on to item G, R-21-22, adopting the FY 2023-2027 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, the ICP. Ms. Anderson, back to you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. So the ICIP is it's an infrastructure capital improvements plan. It establishes planning priorities for anticipated capital projects. The Department of Finance and Administration, DFA, through its authorities in the New Mexico state statutes, strongly encourages each jurisdiction to prepare a 5-year ICIP. So, so the Water Authority has done this. This relates back to our capital outlay requests, And this is the initial step in the ICIP process and the creation of the Water Authority Plan. This goes hand in hand with our decade planning process and our budgeting process. So moving forward, we'll also be doing this in the springtime when we do the budgeting process. And I recommend approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? I have one. How does this relate to the decade plan and our legislative priorities?
So the decade plan, we use that to lay out the next 10 years of projects that we anticipate doing and needing here at the Water Authority. We use our asset management program and the knowledge that we know about the assets that we need, and then also the infrastructure that we see coming up in the future. So all of our rehab projects go in the decade plan, as well as any kind of growth projects, and so the ICIP overlays with that, and our legislative priorities, which is, all the capital outlay projects that we're going to be requesting of the state that'll be coming out here probably in December, are directly linked back to the ICIP.
A participant
Through this
has joined the
process, we're
meeting.
going to be receiving ICIP numbers from the state that we'll be able to apply when we request capital outlay.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That was very well explained. I appreciate that. I don't see any other questions, so I will move for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner, Madam Chair Piscotti, sorry, Madam Chair. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Benson,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Chair Quesada.
Yes,
Passes unanimously.
thank you so much. We will move on to item H, R-21-23, authorizing the Water Utility Authority to submit an application for funding to the Water Trust Board for Advanced Meter Infrastructure Project Phase 7. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this is a resolution that would authorize the Water Authority to submit the application in the amount of $2 million to the New Mexico Water Trust Board for the Advanced Metering Infrastructure AMI project. This is phase 7 of that project. We've actually done really well over the past couple of years receiving Water Trust Board funding from the state for AMI projects. With this funding, we'll get approximately 18,000 existing meters, replace those with AMI meters. The AMI meters give us the ability to monitor customer use in real time and provide customers with real-time data on their water use. We can also notify them of leaks and do a lot of really good analytical data on the water use within our system. So it's really proactive for water conservation. With this funding, so far we've replaced about 120,000 AMI meters with our meters with AMI meters, and that's about 55% of our total meters in our system. We've found these to be really, really effective, and are looking forward to converting all the meters in our system at some point. So I stand for any questions, and I recommend. Fiscal impact on this one. I have to note that we would provide a 60% match, which is $1,200,000 of funding. So that would bring the whole project to 3.2 million, and we do have that money set aside for AMI replacement. So I recommend approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Member Mayor?
These meters, can they be hacked? And if they can, what kind of security do you have to prevent that?
That's a good question. I don't believe that there's been, I haven't heard of anyone experiencing issues with that. But I don't have I'm not sure how to respond to that one. Mark, do you have any?
Mr. Chairman, Trustee Rael, this system is on our own network. We don't share a network with anyone, so it's proprietary to us. Anything can be hacked, but we have security in place to prevent that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? Okay, so I'll move for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Jones, I believe. Yes, thank you. Ms. Carrion, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson?
Aye.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Casella?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
We will move on. Thank you. We'll move on to item I, which is R-21-24. Authorizing the Water Utility Authority to submit an application for funding to the Water Trust Board for the Volcano Cliffs Arsenic Treatment Facility and Pump Station upgrades. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this is an application. This would be authorizing the Water Authority to submit the application for funding for the Volcano Cliffs Arsenic Treatment Facility and Pump Station upgrades. This is a facility, this is a request for $7.1 million from the Water Trust Board. The plant itself would provide about 12 million gallons per day of treated drinking water. We would be using 5 existing wells and bringing those wells back into service. They're currently not in use because of the high arsenic concentration. So this is a great drought resiliency project, and brings those assets back into service, which is, really important. So this also, the pump station upgrades would allow us to move more surface water into that part of the service area and utilize more surface water when it's available. So this project provides both drought resiliency with high arsenic water and also the increased capability of using surface water when we have that available to us. The match on this project is $4.3 million. So that's the fiscal impact, and I recommend approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? I've seen none. I move for approval. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Benson. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson?
Aye.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Chair Casella?
Yes,
Passes unanimously.
thank you. Move on to item J, which is R-21-25, extending the Drought Watch and associated water usage reduction measures. Mark Kelly to present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm Mark Kelly. I'm the Water Resources Division Manager. And tonight I'm here to talk to you about extending Drought Stage 1, which is called Drought Watch. So in March, this board declared a Drought Stage 1 Drought Watch. And at that time, we had much of the state in severe, extreme, or exceptional drought. As you can see now in September, things look a little bit better for the state as a whole. In Bernalillo County, we are still 100% in severe drought or extreme drought. And we have improved since the Drought Watch was declared in March, but I don't think we are out of the woods yet. Next slide. Looking forward, the 3-month outlook for precipitation is looking dry. That is the map on the left showing below average precipitation as being probable for the next 3 months. And the map on the right shows for the next 3 months the temperature is looking to be above average for our region. Next. So the seasonal drought outlook, looking out until the end of November, is for drought to persist in our area. This winter is shaping up to be a La Nina winter, and La Nina is based on cold water in the Pacific pushing the jet stream northward, and this corresponds usually with lower precipitation in our area and much of the southern United States. When we went to drought stage 1 drought watch, we looked at several different things. We looked at how much is our gallons per capita per day versus our goal, and how much is our groundwater pumping versus our goal. Next slide. So Water 2120 sets a goal in 2037 of 110 gallons per person per day. Currently, we are at 124 gallons per capita per day, and that's down 4 GPCD from the beginning of the drought in April when it was declared. So I think our customers are responding to some of our drought measures. Next slide. The other criteria for the drought stages is the groundwater pumping. Back in March, we were well over 140% of our goal for groundwater pumping. Currently, our running annual average is about 126, so we are below that level right now. Next slide. And we have seen a reduction a bit in our summer usage when compared to previous years. Our September numbers are trending to be higher than last year, though, and temperatures have been high. This tells me that we still need for customers to actively conserve. And in light of the gains that we've made and the continuing dry conditions and above average temperatures predicted, as well as the La Nina winter, I'm recommending that the board approve extending the drought stage 1 drought watch. And drought stage 1 means that we'll continue to increase our public education. We will continue to give out the double fees for wasting water. And we'll continue to offer our Drought Smart $20 rebate classes. We're also going to be, of course, emphasizing water use compliance and also emphasizing our Water Smart Academy for landscapers. We're really pushing with our retailers to use the WaterSense label and continuing our Ask an Expert program where customers can email us and get an answer with their irrigation questions. So that is what I have, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay. I have a few. I don't think anybody looks surprised by that. So, it's been hot. What's the difference between this September compared to last September?
So this September so far, we're about 10 million gallons over where we were last year. So things have been going down for the summer, but they look like they're coming back up here in the fall.
Okay. And then we had some monsoon rains lately, and they were decent. I mean, are we still in drought with that?
Yeah, I think we did have some pretty good monsoon rains recently, but if you'll recall to the first slide or so, there was a lot of very dark red of extreme drought on there. So while we did have some monsoon rains that definitely helped bring the level up, there was a long way to fill. So we're still in drought. It's not as severe as it was in March, but we're still there.
So what's the focus going to be on the wastewater? I mean, on the water waste compliance activities?
You know, we're focusing on commercial and multifamily irrigation system issues. Also, HVAC malfunctions is going to continue to be our primary focus for enforcement.
Hmm. I guess we don't have no other questions. Thank you so much. With that, I will move for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Benson, thank you. Ms. Carrion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti.
Yes.
Chair Quesada.
Yes,
That passes unanimously.
thank you. We will move on to item 10, which is other business. A10A is OB-21-15, residential outreach programs. Mr. Bustos.
There we go. Good afternoon, Chair Quesada, members of the board. I'm Carlos Bustos, and I manage the conservation program. And tonight I want to talk to you about one of our newest programs. It's the top 5% residential outreach program. Next slide, please. Oh, the one before. There you go. Thanks. Sorry. So in the summer of 2020, we started an outreach program aimed at top 5% residential users. And the focus of this program is to reduce outdoor demand by alerting folks of usage and offering a consultation to evaluate their irrigation practices.
Hold on, Mr. Bustos. Hold on one second. Could everybody please mute yourself?
Thanks.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
So the focus of the program is to reduce outdoor demand by alerting folks of usage and offering a consultation to evaluate their irrigation practices and method. Next slide, please. We do this by sending a letter to targeted folks. The letter shows a comparison of average monthly usage for all residential users in orange. And then we compare that usage to the house receiving the letter in blue. This is monthly usage. The letter also informs them that they are in the top 5% class and includes drought circumstances or conditions, and encourages people to schedule the free irrigation consultation with one of the staff. Next slide. The consultation covers an evaluation of the irrigation system where we check for leaks and malfunctions and identify improvements that they can make on the ground. We also review their seasonal usage and we compare that to their program schedule. And then we provide information as to how to improve irrigation efficiency with using some of our rebates like efficient nozzles, spray bodies, and smart controllers. Next slide. So we evaluated all the consultations done between July 1st, 2020 and June 30, 2021 to look at savings. In total, during that period, we provided 150 consultations offered by our irrigation efficiency specialists. The blue graph shows total use by these customers, the 151 customers. And in orange, we're showing the total savings after the consultation. Total savings were 4.5 million gallons. The average reduction per household is about 31.2 after the visit percent. It adds value to our education long-term goals focus on outdoor irrigation. This is one of the best savings we've seen to date for our programs. But I also got curious about savings shown by the other folks that did not schedule a consultation. And in total, during that period, we sent 1,166 letters. As you can see in the graph, we targeted different zip codes, and not all the zip codes ended up conserving water. But on an average, the reduction after receiving a letter is about 14% per house. What's amazing about this and what's exciting to see is that even though folks did not schedule a consultation, they still did something to reduce their water footprint. And in total, all these customers reduced their savings by 76 million gallons. So that's pretty amazing. We're pretty excited. And since then, we have updated the letters to show the comparisons by zip code to total usage within that zip code. We felt like that would be more appropriate, but also will help us in further targeting customers that need help. And I stand for questions.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Bustos. Do we have any questions? I'm waiting for everybody to pop up. Okay, none. So is this consultation available to everyone or just the only top 5%?
It is. We offer what we call educational consultations. So anybody within the service area can contact us via Ask an Expert at abcwua.org and schedule one of these.
Okay, great. And then do you know what the average gallons per house is?
Good question. I actually had this somewhere in my notes. Yes, so we're seeing about 1,100 gallons per month savings after each visit.
Per house, yeah, that's a
So
lot.
they're holding up. The monsoon season also helped, but most of those folks, if not all, at least 40% of them continue to show savings.
So when do we stop watering, Mr. Bustos?
You can still water. Right now we're watering, we're recommending twice per week, twice per month for trees and shrubs. And you can continue watering. If we do get some rains, please don't water. But you can continue water all the way until mid-November. After that, you want to start winterizing your system. And if we do get a low snowpack or low precipitation in the winter, you do want to water at least once a month. Keep things alive. Chair.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We will move on to item B, OB-21-16, which is the groundwater management plan. Rick Sheehan.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Rick Sheen. I'm the Water Rights Program Manager, and tonight I'm going to be presenting to you the fifth installment of the implementation plans for Water 2120. And for those keeping track of it, Water 2120 was actually passed by this board, approved by it 5 years ago this month. So it wasn't procrastination while this one is the last one. It was because more data was needed since Water 2120 came out. Next slide. First, I'm going to I apologize. Let me go through, give you a little idea of who's been working on this. It's been our Water Rights and Environmental Program staff. We've had a consultant help us look at the data and sort of determine how we're going to use it. The New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources, they're doing a statewide aquifer mapping project, and they helped us with the aquifer level projections. That's sort of a very big part of the groundwater management plan. And then, of course, the U.S. Geological Survey, we've had a long time collaborative effort with them. All of the data, or most of the data, comes from their groundwater level measurements that they have available. online, and then they're performing a microgravity measurement study for us, which actually helps us get better data and sort of a tighter grasp on what's happening below our feet. And they're also continuing doing some mapping work for us. Next slide. So first, the GWIMP comes from is born out of Policy A and Policy C of Water 2120. We were asked back in 2016 to start, and before, was to create a water budget, which I present to you in the form of the annual operating plan every year, which shows you what the demand is going to be, and then how we're going to be serving that demand with the different resources we have. And we also have Policy C, which this is to establish a groundwater reserve. Groundwater reserve concept was proposed in the Water 2120. So this groundwater management plan builds on that and gives this meat on the bones. Next, please. First, what was called out in Policy A was that we wanted to do this in an adaptive management approach. So wanted to point out it's the five-step cycle process. It allows us to adapt, learn, and adjust while we're collecting data, doing the analysis of it, and finding out what it's telling us. First, the Water 2120 with groundwater reserve management, and this GWIMP plan sets up the plan for the adaptive management approach. Then we go through a series of data collection, and then taking that data, seeing what it entails for the aquifer level, and then compare it to the groundwater reserve that we developed in Water 2120, which I'll show you a slide in a second. And then at that point, we go, well, what does this say to us? And what are the decision points do we have to make? And do we have to readjust our goals? Or start implementing a new, one of the portfolio projects a little sooner or a little later than we thought. Next slide. So part of the components, and this comes right out of Water 2120, that the GWIMP is supposed to have, there's no impact to the aquifer once our management level's reached. We'd like to be able to apply this in perpetuity. It's going to be founded on the best available science, has action levels are clearly defined and objective, and this can actually serve as a model to other groundwater users in the Albuquerque Basin and elsewhere. It maintains a safety reserve for unexpected and unplanned circumstances. Next slide, please. So we've been looking at the aquifer through a series of bunch of holes in the ground, dug down, down to about the depth of our production wells, or shallow, or even shallower to the water table. And so we were getting pictures of the aquifer, what's happening piecemeal. And as you can see, and we've purported is that, and what the observed data says from the USGS is that the water levels were rising in different areas across the basin. Next slide. But that isn't the best way for us to interpret the data for our groundwater management levels. This is from the Water 2120 and is the water reserve. We turned the aquifer into sort of a reservoir and gave it drew lines on it to establish different levels that we were going to be pumping to or keep away from. There's a full line. The full line starts at what is called the pre-development aquifer level, and that's the depth that the groundwater was before pumping started to affect the natural level, or more water started being taken out of the basin than was being replenished. That's at 50 feet below the ground surface. So all of these now, when I'm talking about below the ground surface or drawdown, I'm going to be referring to that datum at this point. And then we decided that a management level of 110 would be a place that the groundwater would be pulled down to. There would be drawdown to that level, and that's where we want to keep the aquifer above through the different practices and implementation of our different projects. So we don't have to that's sort of the line in the sand, as you will, below our feet that we want to work around. And then, of course, we have a safety reserve that starts around 250 feet to 350 feet below the groundwater surface. I want you to keep in mind that's below the groundwater surface. We have production wells that go for 1,400 feet. So the point isn't to draw the aquifer all the way down to that level. It's to control it well above where our wells are actually positioned in the aquifer. And then we've put the basement of the reserve at 300 feet because from the literature we had reviewed, that showed us that was a conservative level of which there's an irreversible subsidence level. So if we pumped all the way down to 300 feet, you would start seeing impacts at the surface, start cracking pavement, utility easements cracking, and things, and buildings sorting to slump. And even though you put more water in the ground, it would not come back. So that's a place we don't want to go and take our groundwater level. So back in 2016, when we modeled this using the Office of the State Engineer's administrative model, we were about 90 feet below ground surface, above the 100. So that's about 20 feet above the management level. Next slide. So as I said, an important part of the groundwater management plan is how we are going to be looking at the groundwater levels with all of the data that we have available to us. Next slide. This is a map, and you're going to start seeing a series of maps with contours in it. But this is all of the data points that we have. These are piezometer wells and production wells in the service area that we've collected, and we use data to create a surface map. So kind of like a topography contour map, we're looking at the levels of the groundwater, below the ground, and comparing to different datums. So the first map in the next slide, this shows you what the recent depth of water was. So this gives you what the water from the surface, the ground surface, down to where you start touching the water table is. The lighter colors show it's shallower, deeper colors, bluer colors show where it's deeper. So it should be no surprise around the river, that's where the groundwater is shallower, and closer to the mountains you go, the deeper that the water level goes. Next slide, please. So this right here is a change in water level from that pre-development, from that 50 feet below the ground surface level I told you about. This is what the aquifer looks like, from the pumping that occurred in the past. The bluer colors, as you can see, is where it's actually increased over the last several years, and where it's been increasing over, but I believe this may be from the 60s and the 80s. And then there's been decrease in other areas from the pre-development level. As you can see, where the major pumping centers are, that's probably where it was, as up near the Rio Rancho area in the northwest, and then closer to the southeast where we have a lot of our production wells. So the real accuracy of this depends on the density. So the more points you have together, the better and the more accurate it is.
A participant has left the meeting.
So this right now is a water level relative to the 110 feet drawdown. If there is a location that all the locations in blue are actually above that management. So you could see within the service area, the vast majority of the water table is above that 110 foot. And if you could look at and read the small lettering, you could see exactly where it was in sort of the drawdown in comparison to the ground surface. There's a very small part of it against the mountains in the Northeast Heights that appears to be low.
A participant has joined the meeting.
But that has to do something with the data spatial density. So we only have one well in that location. So compared to others, it looks lower, but we don't know overall if it is. Next slide. So what we found is that over time, water levels, as we know, have risen and fallen in the study area, i.e. the service area, since pre-development. Areas of water level rise and fall along the study area are their artifacts, and they're poorly supported by the data. Their storage change since pre-development is a loss of approximately 500,000 acre-feet taken out of storage. But most of the area of Albuquerque is water levels at either 50 to 100% full of the actual reserve levels. There's one more thing that I was required to do as part of the Water 21 policies. The next slide, please, is to provide a status of where we are now based on the modeling of the data, and then project in the next 5 years where we think we're going to go based on, and we chose sort of two pumping scenarios. One where there's low groundwater use, and then one where there's high groundwater use, what we've been sort of looking at the last couple of years in these dry, with the low flows that we've had. So what you're looking at is a cross section and sort of a different way to look at the groundwater reserve that we put together, with the 0, with that being the ground surface, the minus 50, this is feet below ground surface, that's the pre-development level. Back when we did this in 2016, the modeling, we were not aware that we were going to have these dry years up front. We actually simulated a drought for like 2 years to 2.5 years occurring starting about 2024, 2025 back then. So I would to say a model, and you've heard this before, a model is never right. They're always wrong, but they're a good tool. So you can't hang your hat on what a model is going to say because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But with that said, you can look at a range of possible outcomes. So within the box, that box represents the next 5 years. And you can see a dark line. You see 2 dark lines in that box. The line that's above, that's on top, that shows if there is low groundwater use and where we expect to go. As you see, we still see the overall average drawdown to decrease over time. But then we also simulated high groundwater use, and that's the line on the bottom. So basically it sort of plateaus there and then starts to go up after sort of the next, if we have some rains or wetter years in the next 5 years or 3 years. I would announce today that the current reserve level, and this, again, this is not based on the observed level. This is based on the administrative model level. Those are not one and the same. But at this point, compared to the groundwater reserve, we're at 84 feet. So we've decreased our drawdown by about 6 feet since Water 2120 was passed. I'd have to add too that this assumes over out in the horizon, out to 2120, where you see the map, that we have implemented our portfolio 1 of Water 2120. That includes more reuse, more use of aquifer storage and recovery water that we've put in the ground, and other projects that we plan to sort of increase our efficiency with our portfolio. Next slide. So with that, thank you very much for your attention, and stand for questions.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Yeah, it's a great presentation. I have one question. What would you interpret our progress from the last 5 years?
Well, as I mentioned, that we did not expect the drought to happen this soon after we passed 2120. But I think we're where we would be, where we thought we would be if we had known this was going to happen. So if we ran the model back in 2120, we put these really dry years ahead, I think we'd be in the same situation. So I'm encouraged to see that we're not out of the realm of the probable outcomes that we'd anticipated 5 years ago.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Sheen.
Welcome.
I don't think we have any more questions or comments. We will move on to item 10C, the update on the Rio Grande Water Fund. This is OB 21-17. Mark Kelly.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Commissioner Benson.
I did have a question.
Yes, please.
What, Mr. Chin, what do you think the odds are for wetter years in the next, 2 to 5 years?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Benson, I don't know. The term mega drought is thrown out a lot. Mega drought is less to do with what intensity of a drought and more of the duration for like 50 years and what we see. We're going to continue to see cycles of these dry years and with the wet years. I'm not going to put any money down because, this recording will be called out. I'll be called out for it. But I mean, 3 years is a lot of dry years, in my history. As Mark Kelly said earlier, La Nina is setting up. It could be another dry winter. So we are planning and expecting that when we develop our next year's annual operating plan.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll hold you to that. Just kidding. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we'll move on to item C, OB 21-17, update on the Rio Grande Water Fund. Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm going to kick it over to a guest that we have, Mr. Terry Sullivan from the Nature Conservancy, who is working with the Rio Grande Water Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I appreciate being able to have a few minutes of your time tonight. I did want to give you an update on the Rio Grande Water Fund and kind of bring you up to speed about the work that we've been doing through the support of the Water Authority. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the genesis of the Rio Grande Water Fund, I think as many of you know, was the catastrophic wildfire that we experienced in 2011 in the Jemez Mountains, the Los Conchas fire. And obviously we've seen a lot of severe wildfires throughout the rest of the West over the last few years. But the driving force behind our concept for the water fund was this Los Conchas fire. And if you remember, it was not only a severe large-scale fire, but about 54% of the burn was what we would consider severe, meaning that it really basically denuded the landscape, wiping out all the trees, vegetation. And the result was a few weeks later, when the monsoons started in 2011, a series of catastrophic floods going through Bandelier National Monument. The picture you see down on the far right corner is a picture of Cochiti Reservoir that you can see is filled with debris and sediment as a result of the cascading debris flow and ash that flowed down from the watersheds that were part of the fire scar area. Next slide, please. And so as a result of that, we decided that we wanted to try to work at a large scale to bring together the most important partners to come up with a vision for protecting our watershed and our water supply. So the vision that we developed was to support and develop healthy forests to make sure that we're protecting a reliable supply of high quality water for the Rio Grande. And as you can see here, over the course of the last 7 years since we launched the program in 2014, we now have about 100 supporting charter signatories and partners. Probably the single most important one of those is the Water Authority. We're really, really grateful for the support and engagement we've had from the authority. And as part of this process, the Water Authority has already been recognized as one of the leading U.S. Entities for providing water source protection and investing in watershed health. But as a result of this relationship, we've actually been able to broaden kind of the exposure of the Water Authority. And this project is seen as one of the leading learning examples for emerging watershed protection projects and water funds throughout the world. As part of this process, we have developed an executive committee that's our key advisors. And the Water Authority has been represented on our executive committee since the inception of the project. First, Catherine Newhouse, and now Diane Hagley. Next slide, please. So the goal of the water fund is to try to restore 600,000 acres of our forested watershed in the next 20 years. So that actually now goes to 2034. As I mentioned, the idea is to try to get to as large a scale as we can and to move as rapidly as we can. The challenge we faced prior to 2014 is that only about 2,000 acres of our at-risk forests were being treated. So we realized we needed to get to a much larger scale, and so our goal was to set a goal, 30,000 acres of forest treatment every year. But also, most importantly, to try to come up with a collaborative vision, bring as many people to the table as we could, and start to get people to realize where their water comes from, which the Water Authority has done an amazing job of over the last several years. Next slide, please. And so this is just an example of the types of tools that we have used. Strategic prescribed thinning in the upper watersheds of heavily forested areas, removing excess vegetation to reduce the potential of catastrophic wildfire. In recent years, we've been planting trees. We have been working on prescribed burns in areas that have already been treated. And what's, I think, most impressive about this is that we can now demonstrate that this approach works. We have significantly reduced and mitigated 3 fires that started over the last few years. The Cajete, the Venado, and the Medio Fire all ran into treated areas. After they started, it looked like they were about to take off. They ran into a forest that had been treated, like you see on the left. The fire dropped down, the intensity reduced, and the fire eventually got under control before it could become a catastrophic wildfire. Next slide, please. The other thing that is interesting about the Water Fund, and as a result of the number of great partners that we have, is that we've been able to really leverage the funding that we received, particularly from municipal and private NGOs. This is a slide showing just an example from 2019. Municipal agriculture, you see there on the right, the purple indicator, 200,000 of those dollars came from the Water Authority. About $500,000 came from private contributions. And then we leveraged and brought in more than $3 million of state money and more than $4 million of Forest Service money. So basically, we're leveraging dollars from municipal and private NGOs at least 10 to 1. Which is really important because in a lot of the grants that we write to federal agencies, we have to have match requirements. And so it's really been a secret sauce for us and the other thing is we're allowed to target then the proceeds to specifically high priority areas that we've identified through our science. Next slide, please. This gives you a sense of the acres that are being treated. As I mentioned, when we started this, prior to starting this project, we were getting about 2,000 acres a year treated, which was not going to get us to the scale that we needed to. It's bumped up to 2015, 2016, and then you can see we exceeded the 30,000 acre threshold in 2018, 2019, dipped back down again in 2020 because of COVID and the Mexican spotted owl injunction. But I think that what we've seen is that we can get to the scale that we need to do it. We need to protect the watershed, and we're moving fairly rapidly in the right direction. Next slide. And so, as I mentioned, one of our key goals is to protect the entire part of the water supply. So a big part of our focus area is in the the upper headwaters of where the Water Authority water originates. So right now we've been targeting restoration in the area that you see circled in red. We have deployed a lot of our funds, especially targeted funds from the Water Authority in this so-called San Juan Chama diversion area headwaters. And the focus again is trying to mitigate catastrophic floods and catastrophic wildfires to protect that key source area. Next slide, please. And what's different about that headwaters area in Colorado, the San Juan Chama headwaters area, is that a lot of that land is privately owned. So it's been a little bit more challenging. It's taken us a little bit longer to get moving. But what we have done, we've established a great partnership. The Forest Service We have an on-the-ground conservation partner, Chama Peak Land Alliance, who are managing and overseeing the treatments. And so we have started to make some pretty good progress on reducing the fire threat and treating some of the most at-risk areas within that headwaters. We're also really closely tied to the so-called 232 Cohesive Strategy Partnership, state of Colorado, state of New Mexico, and the Forest Service. And again, leveraging their scientific capacity and their on-the-ground capacity. Next slide, please. So in the last 4 years, you can see we've treated approximately, I believe, 1,800 acres in that area. We are, again, trying to focus on the most significant areas, the highest risk areas, and working on the ground with the Chama Peak Land Alliance. Next slide, please. And this gives you a sense of what the treated forest looks like before and after. You can see the slides on the left are overgrown, unhealthy forests that are at great risk of catching fire and then turning into a catastrophic wildfire. And then on the right, you can see the after effects, the treated areas, where you can see the fuel has been reduced significantly, and as a result, the fire risk reduced significantly. Slide, please. And so now our next step is to kind of focus on the transmission area, that is the Rio Chama watershed. We're realizing that was we hadn't included that centrally in the first part of the Rio Grande Water Fund. And so we're looking at several thousand, about 300,000 acres in this area that is as you can see, a lot of it is at high risk of debris flow and catastrophic wildfire. So that's all above, it's below the tunnel, and then obviously the whole stretch there along before you get to the Water Authority diversion. Next slide, please. So we've tried to align ourselves as much as possible with the Water 2120 environmental plan, particularly the specific elements in policies H and J. And then the Rio Grande Water Fund was identified as a key performance measure in the Rivers and Aquifers Protection Plan. And so, we're really proud of that. And as I mentioned, that's been a really driving force for us and given us greater credibility and allowed us to bring more partners to the table to increase the scale and pace. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, we've managed to leverage and catalyze a lot of other money from Forest Service. We're at the table to make the case for a new $40 million investment in treating and managing forests in Southwest Colorado in the upper Navajo Blanco Basin area, and also in northern New Mexico. And what we're also really proud of is that we managed through this, our investments have created a lot of jobs, especially in rural New Mexico and in areas that really desperately need them. This is an example of one of our job surveys. We created 15 full-time jobs, and you can see that it generates a significant amount of economic output, especially for some of the underserved communities of northern New Mexico and southwestern Colorado. Next slide, please. So thanks so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Maybe next time we'll get to see you.
Hope so.
I really appreciate the presentation. Do you have any questions? No? I have a few. I know you're not surprised again. But is there a goal for the number of acres treated with the funding from the Water Authority?
So yes, Mr. Chairman, the goal, and let me see if I can pull this up here. Let's see. Our treatment goal for the Navajo Blanco area, we know that about 19,000 acres in that upper area need to be treated. And so ultimately, that's our goal up there, 19,000. As I mentioned, what's interesting is, and more challenging, is that about 70% of that land is on private land. So it makes it a little bit more complicated. It's easier when we're working with one partner, the Forest Service or the state of New Mexico, state of Colorado.
How close are we to that goal?
Mr. Chairman, we have treated, I think, a little more than 1,000 acres in conjunction with the Trauma Peak Land Alliance. I think something important to emphasize is it's a good, important acres that we've treated. We've managed to reach out to some of the most strategically vulnerable areas and treat there. But I think what we've seen is we've got great momentum because of the new influx of federal money that's coming in. As I mentioned, a contribution from private donors or from municipal entities will allow us to dip into that $40 million of new Forest Service money.
What determines how many acres are treated each year? Is it like a funding issue, or is it? I understand there's access. Is it both?
Mr. Chairman, yes, it's a number of converging factors. First and foremost, we want to prioritize the areas that are most needed for treatment. So we use our science analysis and identify the areas that are most at risk. Then we look for partners, whether it's the Forest Service, Trauma Peak Land Alliance, and talk to them and understand where we could apply their resources. And then it's a matter of working with the particular landowners, whether it's a private landowner or the Forest Service. With the Forest Service, it's relatively easy. We can sit down and say, Forest Service has already identified an area for treatment. We can go in, apply the funding there, and get it going. Private landowners, it takes a little bit longer, and it's a little, as I mentioned, a little bit more complex.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. We appreciate that. We know that's important work, especially these days. We watch California and we pray that that's not how our state ends up. And we know this is important work for us. And thank you so much. That's our last item. I heard someone's stomach growl, and then I realized it was mine. So I know everybody's time is very valuable, and I appreciate everybody on this meeting. And we'll see you next time.
A participant has left the meeting.
Adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.